It's very bizarre. I traveled all over the world and all over the country with the president. It is very bizarre to look at one agent and say, I trust you, but not that guy.
Yes.
They work as teams.
Yes, right.
Yeah. The presidential, vice presidential car is called the Beast because it weighs so much and they fly it when they travel overseas. And for any president or vice president to look at one agent and say, I trust you, but I'm not getting in the car, it's unheard of. The vice president also had his whole family there today. So I know a lot of the evidence pointed to foreknowledge of violence, but I think we've all on our shows interviewed members of Congress who wore sneakers and didn't have their staff there because they knew it was going to be violent. It's an interesting thread to keep pulling and keep revealing how much Pence knew. We know that Short went to the Secret Service and said Pence could be in danger tomorrow. But he, like Raskin, almost eerily, has his whole family there for this really violent
That's a very interesting point. You're suggesting that maybe Pence didn't totally understand the scope of the threat?
Well, I mean, I think to your point, to the answer you elicited from Congressman Aguilar, I think the committee's theory and what they're trying to point toward is indifference to his survival, to his life. But clearly in the garage, Mike Pence was feeling something more than
it dawned on him that he was in literally mortal danger. But you know,
within his team,
within his team, and he didn't trust the Secret Service that Donald Trump controlled. I mean,
wait. He doesn't think the Secret Service is going to kill him.
No. He thinks they're going to.
I'm not saying kill him, but he doesn't get in the car for reasons that are not fully explained. And the first place I read about this was the Phil Rucker, Carol Leonnig book that has some of this scene depicted. But what still isn't answered is does he think they're going to take him to Mount Weather? Does he think they're going to take him to the residence? Where do they? I mean, to your point, it's cinematic. Where do they think they're going to take him?
But isn't the inference that they're going to just take him away so that he can't complete the certification, such that it becomes January 7th and there's been no certification? It doesn't matter where he thinks he's going to go. He thinks he won't certify, and then what does that mean?
And they may be taking him away for his own safety. Maybe. And he doesn't want that. In which case, that's physical courage on his part. Or he may be worried that they're going to take him away, not necessarily to keep him safe or under the fig leaf of keeping him safe, when really they're part of the coup. They're part of the plot, and they want him out of the Capitol so he can't get the votes.
That part of it, the Keith Kellogg quote, in the Rucker-Leonnig book is when he's talking to a Secret Service person who is close to Trump, a sort of Trump loyalist, not to Tim, to I think Otero is his name, if I'm recalling that correctly. Basically says, I know you guys, you'll take him to Alaska. Let him stay and do his job. That's the quote of Kellogg talking. And this comes back to a thing that Ari first said that has stuck with me since Ari said it, which is whatever it was, however it had to be done, at a certain point, the goal becomes for America to go to bed on the night of the 6th.
That's right.
With it being unsettled.
Right.
And that, if you think about that as the day progresses, just kick the can. Play for time, unrest.
Get to the 7th.
Right? We know how much unrest is figuring in Eastman, from the testimony we saw today. We know how much this idea of if there's general disorder and the constitutional jump ball, at a certain point as the day progresses, whether it's to actually imperil the safety of the vice president or not, ultimately the sort of first order goal of the president at that point, and I think Eastman, and this is what Ari said and it has stuck with me ever since, is America goes to bed on the 6th. And it's undecided.
And what Joy was saying earlier, if that happens, if you can inject enough chaos into the system so that it's a constitutional jump ball, nobody knows what's going to happen, people go to bed not knowing what's going to happen in the country and what form of government we have and who's in control. If you have paramilitary pro-leader groups that are armed and in the streets on your behalf and you have knowledge of that, you are much more comfortable just holding chaos as the status quo as long as you can, because you know that when it does come to settling it in the streets, you'll have an advantage because you've already got your paramilitary
units there. And by the way, you're still president until January 20th at noon, so you still control the military, you still control all of the violent arms of government. And so if you can just get to the 7th, so that technically it didn't happen, No, there was no certification. You're still president on the 7th. I think in Trump's mind, he's like, just get me to the 7th. Take Pence to the moon if you have to.
But those groups have testified in their trials that DOJ has proceeded with that they were waiting for him to invoke the Insurrection Act. They were waiting for their orders. And this goes back to the Luttig testimony. He says he's the first live witness to say that Pence, if he'd followed an order from his president, would have started a revolution. Well, the other people in on that revolution were the insurrectionists, were the extremist groups who have testified. Stewart Rhodes, I think, was the first one that said they were waiting for the president to invoke the Insurrection Act.